Jack Palance was born Vladimir Palahniuk on February 18, 1919, in Hazleton, Pennsylvania, the son of Ukrainian immigrants who worked relentlessly to survive in America's coal mining heartland. His father labored underground in brutal conditions, and as a young man, Jack followed him into the mines, learning early what physical endurance and sacrifice truly meant. That harsh upbringing shaped his worldview permanently. Before acting ever entered the picture, Palance pursued athletics, earning a football scholarship to the University of North Carolina and briefly playing professionally before injuries ended that path. World War II then reshaped his life again. As a bomber pilot, he survived a devastating training crash that left him badly burned, requiring reconstructive surgery. The experience didn't weaken him, it hardened his resolve. What emerged was a man defined by resilience, discipline, and a deep disdain for anything he viewed as artificial or unearned. From war scars to the stage. After the war, Palance redirected his intensity toward acting, studying drama at Stanford University, and honing his craft in live theater and early television. Unlike many of his Hollywood contemporaries, he did not arrive polished or groomed for stardom. He arrived raw. His physical presence, sharp features, and commanding voice were not manufactured but earned through experience. His breakout role came in Panic in the Streets in 1950, but it was his chilling performance as Jack Wilson in Shane in 1953 that sealed his reputation. Audiences were captivated by his controlled menace and psychological depth. He wasn't playing villains as caricatures, he was embodying them. That performance earned him an Academy Award nomination and placed him firmly among Hollywood's most compelling actors. Yet even as success followed, Palance remained guarded, skeptical of Hollywood's polish, and deeply protective of his artistic integrity. A career built on intensity throughout the 1950s and 1960s. Jack Palance became synonymous with intensity. He delivered unforgettable performances in films like Sudden Fear and The Big Knife, roles that showcased not just menace but vulnerability and inner conflict. He gravitated toward characters on the edges of morality, men shaped by pressure and consequence. Palance never softened his approach to fit expectations. If anything, he leaned further into authenticity, even when it made him less accessible. This uncompromising attitude earned respect from some and discomfort from others. He also chose to work extensively in European cinema, embracing unconventional projects that allowed him greater creative freedom. These choices reflected his belief that acting was not about fame, but about truth. Yet that same belief would later fuel one of Hollywood's most enduring and misunderstood rivalries. The film that changed everything. Shane remains one of the most celebrated westerns in cinema history, but behind the scenes, it marked the beginning of lasting tension. Palance played the antagonist with icy precision, while Alan Ladd portrayed the quiet hero. The contrast between them extended beyond the screen. Palance, tall, physically imposing, and shaped by hardship, represented a kind of raw realism. Ladd, smaller in stature and meticulously managed by the studio system, embodied a different Hollywood ideal. The production employed technical methods to enhance Ladd's screen presence, a common practice at the time. To Palance, however, these accommodations symbolized everything he distrusted about the industry. He believed authenticity should not be engineered. What began as professional difference quietly solidified into personal resentment, rooted less in jealousy and more in opposing philosophies about art, image, and masculinity in cinema. A clash of worldviews. The tension between Jack Palance and Alan Ladd was not explosive, but it was enduring. Palance respected struggle, believing hardship forged depth and truth. Ladd, by contrast, had risen within a studio system built on image and careful presentation. Their working styles could not have been more different. Palance immersed himself physically and psychologically into roles, while Ladd favored restraint and internalized performance. Neither approach was wrong, but to Palance, one felt honest and the other manufactured. Industry insiders later recalled moments of visible discomfort between the two, though both remained professional. Palance rarely spoke publicly about Ladd, but privately his disapproval was clear. To him, Ladd symbolized an industry that prioritized appearance over substance. Over time, this perception hardened into resentment, not driven by malice, but by deeply held convictions about what acting and manhood should represent. Professional distance, lasting resentment. Despite the tension, both actors delivered performances that elevated Shane into cinematic legend. Their final confrontation crackled with authenticity precisely because the emotional distance was real. Viewers sensed it, even if they couldn't name it. Afterward, their paths rarely crossed again. Alan Ladd's life ended tragically early in 1964, while Palance continued acting for decades. Those close to Palance later noted that his feelings never softened with time. He did not celebrate Ladd's legacy, nor did he attack it publicly. Instead, he remained silent, which in Palance's case spoke volumes. To him, the conflict was never personal alone. It represented a broader cultural divide within Hollywood itself, the tension between crafted image and lived experience, between studio polish and raw endurance. That divide shaped not just one rivalry, but Palance's entire relationship with fame. A renaissance late in life. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Jack Palance experienced an unexpected resurgence. His roles in Batman and especially City Slickers introduced him to a new generation. As Curly Washburn, he revealed humor beneath the toughness, depth beneath the gravel. The performance earned him an Academy Award at age 73. His acceptance speech, punctuated by one-handed push-ups, became instantly iconic. It wasn't a stunt, it was a statement. Palance was still himself. Defiant, physical, unapologetic. The moment reframed his legacy, reminding audiences that intensity and warmth could coexist. It also validated a lifetime spent resisting conformity. He had survived Hollywood without surrendering to it, and now late recognition arrived on his own terms. The private man, behind the persona. Away from the screen, Palance lived quietly, spending his later years in the mountains of California. He painted landscapes, wrote poetry, and ran a ranch, finding peace far from the industry he never fully trusted. His artistic pursuits revealed a gentler, introspective side, few associated with his on-screen roles. He published a poetry collection and sold paintings, each accompanied by handwritten verses. His love for animals led him to give up eating red meat, a choice rooted in compassion rather than ideology. Family remained central to his life, particularly his children. Though he experienced love, divorce, and loss, Palance valued privacy above all. Fame never defined him. Craft did. Roots that never faded. Despite decades in Hollywood, Palance never forgot where he came from. He remained deeply connected to his Ukrainian heritage and working-class upbringing in Pennsylvania. He returned often, supported local causes, and took pride in his origins. In his final years, he gradually settled his affairs, selling property and sharing his art with the world. Politically outspoken and fiercely independent, Palance stood by his beliefs without apology. He was a man shaped by labor, war, and discipline, and those values never left him. They informed his work, his relationships, and even his grudges. To understand Palance fully is to understand a man who believed character was earned, not assigned. A legacy beyond rivalry. Jack Palance passed away peacefully in 2006 at age 87, surrounded by family. His memorial in Pennsylvania honored not just an actor, but a man who carried his roots with him to the very end. The story of his resentment toward Alan Ladd is often retold as a Hollywood feud, but that framing misses the truth. It was never about hatred alone. It was about principle, about authenticity versus image, about a man who survived hardship struggling to accept a system that often rewarded illusion. Palance's legacy is not defined by rivalry, but by conviction. He stood firm in who he was, even when it made him difficult, even when it cost him comfort. And in doing so, he left behind something rare. A career built not on compromise, but on unyielding truth.